The golden age of America begins right now. The golden age of America begins right now.
And of course, anybody out there who's followed my work over the years or who has any understanding, even minimalistic understanding of the occult and Aleister Crowley and Alice Bailey and Madame Blavatsky knows that that term, the Golden Age, is reference to the Golden Dawn. And that is exactly what they plan on bringing in with Donald Trump as the face of it while he stands on stage and talks about how God saved his life, how divine intervention is the reason that he's here, and he's here to save America. You know, with the likes of Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who happened to post and tweet out, the dawn of a new golden age starts on Monday. And even shaking Elon Musk's hand and saying, a new dawn. And of course, what they're referencing is the Golden Dawn. This is Aleister Crowley's Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which is a secret society that all of these people are a part of. It is the complete Golden Dawn system of magic that they follow. In fact, I guess it makes perfect sense to have Donald Trump roll in this system of magic since, well, Marina Abramovich, who is probably known in all circles as one of the highest ranking witches in our society, who is openly performing things like spirit cooking and getting away with it. Well, she's excited, or he's excited, that Donald Trump has been put into power because Donald Trump, in its own words, saying that Donald Trump is the magician of the highest order, the one who will bring chaos, the one who will bring in this new era of the Golden Dawn.
You know, I just to share with you one really funny opinion. But there is in Lapland, there is a group of the shamans there who do something called collective dreaming. They will go together in seclusion and do the rituals with, eating very little food and being in a solitude for a long time, and they will go and dream the dreams. And the dream have to be collective, same dream. So coming out of this dream, once the shaman told me that actually the best thing happened in this planet right now is the Trump to be the president. I said, how is this possible? It's the best thing to happen. He said, yes, because he's so irrational, he's so crazy. That's actually create that awakening, that we finally wake up. Because before it will be another guy and everything was similar. But he's so different than anything else. So he's the magician who waking us up. What do you think about that?
Best thing happened ever to us. That he is the best thing happened ever to us. That he is the magician of the highest order. That he is there in his irrational mind to create confusion in order that the human being can find new order. And you know, it's not so stupid thinking about this in that way. It's completely turning things upside down.
We must never ignore the vile poison of anti-Semitism or those who spread its venomous creed. With one voice, we must confront this hatred anywhere and everywhere it occurs. The scourge of anti-Semitism cannot be ignored, cannot be tolerated, and it cannot be allowed to continue. We can't allow it to continue. It must be confronted and condemned everywhere it rears its very ugly head. We must stand with our Jewish brothers and sisters to defeat anti-Semitism and vanquish the forces of hate. That's what it is. Through the centuries, the Jews have endured terrible persecution, and you know that. We've all read it, we've studied it, they've gone through a lot. And those seeking their destruction, we will seek their destruction. With one heart, America weeps for the lives lost. With one voice, we vow to crush the monstrous evil of anti-Semitism whenever and wherever it appears, and we're working very hard on that. And I can tell you that that we have a lot of people in government working very, very hard on that. But today we're taking another historic action. In just a few moments, I'll sign an executive order to combat anti-Semitism. This action makes clear that Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, which prohibits the federal funding of universities and other institutions that engage in discrimination, applies to institutions that traffic in anti-Semitic hate. So this is a very powerful document that we're signing today. And together, all of us, we're going to eradicate the sinister scourge of anti-Semitism. And we will protect Jewish communities and all members of the Jewish faith from the wicked forces of hatred and violence. And you know that, and the love by evangelicals, Christians, for Jewish people and for Israel is incredible. It's incredible. We will not rest until the horrible and vile ideology of anti-Semitism has been defeated and destroyed.
Can I show this?
Sure. I would love that. This was a special token of affection given by myself and the First Lady to Prime Minister and the First Lady of Israel. And it's a key. We call it a key to the White House. And it's a key to our country and to our hearts. And you've been an amazing leader for a long period of time. And this is, in many respects, the big day, because this is something that's very special. And we just left UAE and Bahrain. We're going to meet outside in a ceremony. And it's just a very important event, and it's an honor to have you with us, baby. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I have said, and this is true, that you have the key to the hearts of the people of Israel because of all the great things you've done for the Jewish state and the Jewish people. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Fantastic.
You have been the greatest friend that Israel has ever had in the White House.
So I went to the Jewish deli, and of course we had the discussion on Trump. I asked them, who is Trump to you? And you know what they said? Trump is our new Messiah, actually. They want to believe that Trump is the Messiah. What I think is happening here is God using Donald Trump to hasten the coming of the Lord. This is really what is happening here. And we need to stay tuned because he's lining up with Israel right now in a major way.
What the Moshe has allowed, as I've mentioned many times, he has taken a figure, Trump, right? And he's allowed him to be, right, a messianic figure. As I mentioned, it's the Mashiach of Edom. It's a messianic figure, you see, and true to the whatever, you know, the description, he's been doing incredible stuff for the Jewish people.
Perhaps it is no accident that the numeric value of Donald Trump in Hebrew is the same as Messiah, son of David, Mashiach ben David, 424. Trump was designated as God's servant and anointed one, just like Cyrus the Great almost 2,400 years ago.
Bottom line, Trump is a godsend, an imperfect messenger of God, but nevertheless, a King David of our time. The prophecies of Mark Taylor, who in 2011 was documented in 2012 in major Christian magazines predicting that Donald J. Trump would become the 45th president of the United States and that it would signal a major global revival. Now, I've talked to so many great pastors that I really respect, like Rodney Howard-Browne and others, and they've talked about this fact. And now that you see Trump delivering on the mass arrest of pedophiles worldwide, delivering on the return of our republic, standing up for Christian rights, it is unprecedented. You have the Pope, who's not a real Catholic, but a Jesuit globalist, openly calling for the end of Christianity, open borders to Islam, not defending Christians being slaughtered all over Africa and the Middle East. This is biblical time.
Number 8, we will finally complete the biometric entry-exit visa tracking system, which we need desperately. For years, Congress has required biometric entry-exit visa tracking systems, but it has never been completed. The politicians are all talk, no action, never happens, never happens. Hillary Clinton, all talk. Unfortunately, when there is action, it's always the wrong decision. Do you ever notice? In my administration, we will ensure that this system is in place. And I will tell you, it will be on land, it will be on sea, it will be in air. We will have a proper tracking system.
This is Jeremiah 17:5. Thus saith Yahweh Bashem Shai, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departeth from Yahweh Bashem Shai. Kahala Yahweh Bashem Shai Bashem Kokodash, which are the true Hebrew names of the Most High Father, Yahweh, which is Hebrew for He is, and His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, which is Hebrew for He is salvation. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, with the house of David reborn again in this generation. And shalom to the 130 Yasharallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing our true heritage, we were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about the king of Babylon being crowned, that being Donald Trump, on today's inauguration day, which is again just another ritual that goes back to the times of ancient Rome. Now, as you can see here, this is a AI generated image of Trump with a crown on, with an image that I created of Babylon from the past that I thought was fitting, because when you look at who Trump is, he's not just a standard president, right? When you look at the way he's been thrusted in the limelight for the last couple of decades, he's been groomed to be in this position at this time. In fact, there's even testimonies saying that this man himself is a result of a Luciferian satanic sex magic ritual known as the Babylon Rising ritual, which sought to produce a moon child that would be conceived from a sexual magic act on a specific day, being done through certain rituals that would ultimately bring forward a child that would eventually usher in the return of Babylon. Now, Donald Trump, it has been shown that his birth coincided with the Babylon Rising rituals that Jack Parsons, L. Ron Hubbard, and the other Los Angeles Hollywood Satanists had performed, and they believe he is this man. Now, like I said again, when you look into everything this devil has done and everything that's going on around him, for example, in today's inauguration, one thing that he did not do is he did not place his hand on the Bible. Now, he did raise up his hands, and from the vantage point of this image, you can see his other hand was down. Now, when I seen this, I thought of the image of the Baphomet, which is on the right hand side here. You can see how it has one hand above, one hand below, signifying as above, so below. Right? This is the Luciferian credo. Now, besides this gesture that Trump may have done, and again, he may not even have done this knowingly, but the way that the spirit works, the way that the spiritual realm works, is that you'll do things subconsciously without your knowledge. But again, I don't put it past that Trump actually knew this. I'm pretty sure he's in command of what's going on. But again, that's the way the spiritual world works, okay? People will do things and reveal who they are, right? The Messiah himself said, by their fruits you shall know them. So again, when you see other people, for example, holding their hands in certain ways, saying certain words, spilling certain beans, I guess you could say, is because the Lord put it on their spirit to reveal things. You see this a lot with backmasking. Backmasking is where you play a song backwards and an ulterior message, which tends to be the truthful message, is released. Now, some people say that this is done purposely, like, for example, when Obama says, yes, we can, it really means thank you, Satan. Well, other people have an explanation that it's not that they are purposely finding words to say backwards, but it's their consciousness and the subconsciousness within them that causes them to reveal the message backwards. Hence, this is why Satanists do things backwards. But again, I digress. Now, one of the other interesting events that took place during the inauguration is that this is one of the I believe it's the first presidential inauguration that took place inside of the Capitol building, underneath the rotunda, where you have this image. Now, this image is entitled The Apotheosis of George Washington. When you zoom in, you see George Washington here amongst pagan gods, okay? The gods of ancient Greece and also of ancient Babylon. Okay, you got people, I believe, like Tubal-Cain. I believe this is Tubal-Cain here. Right here, right? The iron maker and stuff. And you got other individuals along with other founding fathers. There goes, I think this is Prometheus, or the guy with wings on his Hermes or something like that. But the point being, and also, what's his name? Poseidon, who ultimately they say is Satan. But the point being is that this mural, along with the 72 stars around it's around the edge, 72 star represents the 72 demons, which are represented in the Keys of Solomon. It's the demonology, or the Goetia, which is basically it's a magical book, right? That explains how the demon world works and all stuff. Well, these Edomites, and when I say Edomites, I'm referring to the Caucasian and Israeli races. They use magic of this magnitude to push forward their agenda, to perform their sorcery, and to ultimately, conquer the world and to deceive the world. Well, in doing so, in doing the inauguration under this rotunda, which again, the rotunda is that dome that you see. Now, this rotunda represents the, for lack of a better word, the vagina of Ishtar. Okay, Ishtar in this case is ultimately referred to as Columbia. Okay, Columbia is right here next to George Washington. Now, Columbia is just another name for Ishtar. And again, when you look at the top of this dome, there's a statue on top of it with Columbia on top of it. Okay, and this right here represents her matrix, her vagina, and from it is birthed this ritual, right, known as apotheosis. And apotheosis, it basically means the elevation of man to a god. Now, Esau ultimately is seeking to do this with their new king, right? That being Trump. They're trying to make him into a god, king, emperor, right? But we know that Trump is not only a king of Edom, but he is a witch king. And why do I say that? Well, part of the magic that Esau does is that they use numerology and they use word magic, okay? And the whole fact that President Trump was the 45th president and the 47th president is not a coincidence, okay? It was done on purpose, okay? It was done for this exact reason, so that way they could use their sigil magic and get the numbers 9 and 11. And how do you do this? Well, you add 4 plus 5 is 9. 4 plus 7 is 11. So 9/11. The simple fact that these numbers represent 9/11, subconsciously it triggers things in people. And that's how these devils work, right? They traumatized Americans by the events of September 11th. And that what that did is that created a small space within people's minds, within their psyches, known as an altar. That's what they refer to it as, okay? And in that altar that was created, and all the people who went through it, right, who witnessed it, thought about it, had it drilled into their heads, what happened is there was a certain thing built into it, right? A certain thought, certain feelings you get, right? This is why they would come out and talk about terrorism or weapons of mass destruction or certain things, right? To make you have these small little subconscious feelings buried deep within the people affected by this. Well, how do they access this? Well, they initiate it by using certain key phrases, right? Safe and effective. Nobody's safe till everybody's safe. Terrorism, and so on and so on. 9/11 is just one of these other key phrases. And on top of that, when you get into the word MAGA, which is an acronym supposedly for Make America Great Again, when you get into Latin, which is the language of these witches, which ultimately goes back to their forefather, one of their ancient forefathers known as Latinus. In the Bible, he's referred to as Lotan, one of the dukes of Edom. He's the inventor of Latin, okay? And people say that Latin is a very dark, wicked language. In fact, there's even been studies showing that by speaking Latin, that it changes your DNA. Now, that's neither here nor there, but the word MAGA in Latin translates to witch in English. So when you have that devil Elon Musk out there talking about he's dark MAGA, he's literally telling you he's a dark witch. And from the videos we watched at the very beginning, you even had that high priestess, Abramovich, whatever her name is, letting you know that Donald Trump is a high priest of the highest magnitude. And why is that? Well, could it be because he's a moon child and that he's been brought up to go through all these rituals, that his uncle just so happened to be the head of the Alien Affairs Department of the U.S. government that happened to confiscate all of Nikola Tesla's patents and inventions, where they now have all this knowledge of frequencies and advanced technology? Well, you see, there's only so much coincidences that can be taken on that people can no longer say, well, it just happened to happen that way. No, a lot of things that these devils have done are done on purpose. This is Revelations 18 and 23. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all the nations deceived. And this here is talking ultimately about the downfall and destruction of Babylon the Great, that being America. Right here, it gives you a hint of what America, Babylon the Great, what it is doing to receive all of its power that it has currently right now, right? It is using sorceries to deceive the nations of the world. So all that talking about a new dawn starts today, make America great again, and all these things, talking about, peace and safety and all this stuff. This here is all, it's witchcraft. It's a way to lure people into a false understanding. This 2 Corinthians 2 and 11. Least Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So us Hebrew Israelites who are in the know, we could see all these things playing out. We could see these devils trying to put a fast one by the people. But again, we're not falling for it, because as it tells us in Numbers 23 and 23, there is no enchantment against Jacob. And because of that, we're able to see through these Edomite devils' tricks and their snares that they're trying to set up for the people. Because just like as it said in the second video that I played, the third video that I played, Trump, he has said a lot of things in his first presidency, which he's going to continue now that he's in office again. Some of those things are doing Amalek's will. And besides doing Amalek's will, he's going to bring forward that mark of the beast, the RFID implantable biometric microchips, be it in your hand or in your forehead. 1 Thessalonians 5:3. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Because you see, these devils, they're starting their agenda. They've actually been starting their agenda all the way back since September 11th, right? They started to make a turn to America. When you look at America today, all that time, and go all the way back to the time of 2001, America is no longer the America you grew up in. That America no longer exists. This is the new fascist Edomite America, okay? Basically Rome reborn again. And right now we're going into a very dark time now that Trump is in office for his second term. He's going to go wild, and he's going to bring forward a lot of the agenda that Esau has been waiting to bring forward. Some of those things are the mass deportation that you hear he's going to do tomorrow. Now those deportations, that's all fine and well. But you see, what that's going to trigger is that's going to trigger people having to show their IDs. That puts the Northern Kingdom, Latinos and Native Americans, on the suspect list. Right now, the Northern Kingdom now has to be wary, regardless if they're legal or not. And with the events that took place during New Year's Eve in Louisiana, along with all these other false flag terrorist attacks that had so-called Negroes being the people who perpetrated them, that has put the Southern Kingdom Israelites on the list. And you have organizations trying to tie so-called Negroes to Islam now, right? You got these devils, these Edomite devils, trying to tie this movement of ours into terrorism, right? But the thing is they're doing it in a sly way. And one of the sly ways that they're going to do this is by making it seem like times are going to be better, that things are going to become safer, and peace is going to prevail, right? A golden age, an age of peace, a new dawn, right? These devils make it sound, nice and pleasant. But what we're soon going to find out is once the varnish, rubs off, is that these devils are going to continue doing the same things they've been doing, committing the genocide over there in the Middle East, and it's going to only spread, right? And like these devils are going to bring forward their transhumanist Luciferian agenda, their communist world takeover, along with the RFID implantable microchips that you're going to need to operate within this new social credit system that they're going to bring over here, which you could already see over there in China and parts over there in India. See, Esau is not slick, but again, this is why it tells you this. This is Revelations 20:8. And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. The main point here is talking about here. Again, with all these things that these Edomite devils are doing, basically being led by Amalek, they're deceiving the nations. They're going to offer the nations, a peace treaty, right, of some sort, right? You have Trump already bringing forward the Abraham Accords, and there's going to be, so I'm sure there's going to be some sort of peace treaty with the whole Gaza bombardment, right? He himself even said that he doesn't believe that the ceasefire in Gaza is going to last, right? And that there could be some interesting things that could be done with Palestine and those issues over there. So we're going to see a lot of interesting things coming up, especially in these next 4 years. And now you have it trickling out that in 2027, these devils are going to be dropping the whole alien deception agenda, right? They're going to mention that there's going to be a ship on its way, like a big mothership on its way to the Earth in 2027, right? How fitting that it's 2 years into Trump's term. But either way, that's something that we still got to wait and watch out for. But we understand that these devils are going to trick the world with an alien deception to get them prepped to fight against when the Lord shows up in the real so-called alien invasion. This is 1 Peter 5:8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, is as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. And that's what we got to basically make sure that we're ready for, Akim. We got to make sure that we're paying attention to what's going on. We got to make sure not to fall into a false sense of hope or false sense of safety, now that Trump's in office, right? Even though he's being touted as the Messiah, right? He's going to save America. He's going to make things better again. Don't believe these Edomite devils, man. They're going to say that, but then they're going to continue doing the same old thing, right? In fact, times are only going to continue to get worse because they're about to collapse this economy. But either way, Akim, hopefully this video was edifying. I know that there's a lot of Akim out there making videos about today's date, so I just want to go ahead and put my 2 cents in. So with all that, let's go and give all honor and glory and praises to Yahweh, B'Hashem Yahushai, B'Hashem Ruach HaKodesh. Shalom.